Hello, my name is Shirley Self, and I'm here to talk astrology. And tonight I wanted to introduce you to a woman of science, a Rosalind Franklin, the discoverer of of DNA, the shape of DNA. So here's Rosalind Franklin, her data. She was born the 25th of July in 1920, and in London, England. And we have here a solar chart, because I don't have a birth time for her. She is a moon phase 10. Let me review moon phase 10 for you. Moon phase 10 is a phase of incredibly high standards. Well, look who it's connected to: a 10, 20, 24, and 6. This is the niche hunter, the iconoclast, the judge, and the craftsman. So that it's an urge for perfection, that comes to 10 from the mask over here at moon phase 24, the craftsman. They are 10 is an iconoclast, definitely into self-definition, as is 6. They are their own authority, and notice where they are. They're the beginning here of Leo, going from Cancer into Leo, and the Leo decadent there. So they are their own authority, and they have this personal code of conduct, which they get from moon phase, the craftsman, moon phase 24. The thing about 10 and virtually all of these phases is they don't put up with anybody who pretends to have any authority over them, religious or anything. If they love the job, they'll do it a good job, and not because somebody tells them to. So a moon phase 10 Yeats called the 10 the juggernaut, and that's because anybody who's in control of their emotions is in control of themselves, and often is in control of the whole group, because that self-control is such a rare thing. So that's a moon phase 10, and here we have a moon phase 10, and here's that personal authority. I mean, 5 planets in Leo, and Leo gives you your own authority. Leo rules authority. So Rosalind had these 5 planets in Leo: the Sun, Mercury, Venus, Neptune, Jupiter. And she had Saturn is here in Virgo, Mars in Scorpio, Mars in its rulership, Sun in its rulership, Uranus in Pisces, and Pluto in Cancer. Notice that Pluto is the oriental planet, the leading planet. This woman wants to make an impact on the world. She wants to virtually transform science, and she did. You think of what discovering the structure of DNA has done to science. It virtually opened it up, and a lot of stuff was left behind. So this woman, look at this Pluto. It's in a part of a grand trine. It's actually a kite. It's got the sextile to Saturn. There's a trine to Uranus, and we've got the trine to Mars, and the sextile to Saturn. This is amazing ability to focus one's power on what you want to do. It's virtually made her work a triumph because it's so coordinated. And with the Saturn in here, this is incredible scientific or a talent to have. The Mars working well with the Uranus, working well with the Pluto, and gave her an understanding and a sensitivity to what she was doing. She was taking X-rays, X-ray crystallography, and that's demonstrated right across the Saturn-Uranus opposition there. Taking the pictures, analyzing them, taking another picture, analyzing it, taking another picture. The problem with, moon phase 10 is they may not know when to stop. All the moon phases of the rectangle of excess and judgment are have a tendency to go too far. And she did go too far. First of all, she went so far that she had some more information than she needed. She could have published. And the fact that she took all these x-rays, it virtually killed her. She was 38 or 39 when she died of breast cancer. So she sacrificed her life to make this discovery, and then it was stolen from her. I've been thinking this in order to do what she had to do, in order to be a good scientist and have the perseverance it takes to do this kind of science, you've got to have Saturn on an angle. Saturn's got to be strong. And I'm thinking that if you put Saturn on the IC, the cusp of the fourth house here, that would put the Uranus up here on the midheaven. And the fact is that the thing that she was seeking was the results were virtually stolen from her, so that she did not receive the Nobel for discovering the structure of DNA. One James Watson and Francis Crick won that, because whoever publishes first gets the Nobel. And Watson was a beneficiary of her work, and it was given to Watson by the guy who was working in the lab with her. Now this guy, his name was Wilkins, and he did not know how to take Rosalind Franklin. She was a get out of the way, I'm not putting up with anybody's bullcrap. So and she was a woman, and this was in the 40s. So the harassment she took from men shows in this Mars squared the Venus. That's not only does it make relationship difficult, but it just shows, in the south node there, shows that harassment was expensive to her, and she had to deal with it, as any woman scientist who wasn't working in France had to do. But this Mars and the south node there gave her the ability to dig deep. The Pluto, the Mars trine to Pluto, to dig deep and to discover what she was looking for. But like I say, she had, by the time Watson discovered her, she had already had a massive trove of information. But Watson and Crick published with no history of any discovery, no data, no pictures. They just had a tinker toy model. Wilkins gave Watson Rosalind's information. Let's look at Wilkins. Is there anything that I want to say about Rosalind? You know, with this south node here, I would have thought she would be more suspicious. she had to be very defensive. She had to defend herself from the constant put down and harassment of men. She was working at King's College, but was not allowed to go into the lounge. It was for men. So, so she died of cancer. She died of breast cancer at age 38, 39. She died young. The result of all that X-ray chromatography. This is James Watson. This is the guy who benefited from the gift of Maurice Wilkins, who betrayed Rosalind Franklin. And he's a moon phase 16. Now 16, interesting thing about moon phase 16 that I find fascinating is because they have gone through 15 phases of self-perfection, they consider themselves perfect, and they usually are. They have worked hard to become the ideal person, the ideal that was planted in them at moon phase 1. That ideal person has been created. And the problem that is 16 and 17 to a great extent have is that because they're the ideal person, that the world is going to respond in an ideal way and allow them, cooperate with them, give them what they need. And this 16 and 17 have to be disabused of this. They have to work for what they get. They have to fight against heavy winds. They have to swim against the stream in order to accomplish what they want. But lucky Jim Watson, and notice his sun, Jupiter conjunction is exact. Jupiter is a few minutes behind the sun, so it's not leading the sun. But the Jupiter-Sun reaction connection in Aries makes for a person with a God complex, and it's all about me, Aries. It's all about me. Notice this is trying to Saturn. Saturn's, you know, the planet of the scientist, and he does not have Saturn on an angle. He does not have a good Saturn. There's got the south node right there, 8 degrees away, and so it's too easy for him to zip off instead of staying here and doing the work. He's led by the oriental planet is this Uranus, and it's fairly unaspected, and so it just pops off at the moment, and away we go off and do that. He's had a lot of trouble concentrating. The Saturn, in order to do good science, you know, it takes a good Saturn. Saturn on an angle helps. And he didn't have a good Saturn. He didn't have a good Saturn at all. He couldn't concentrate on it. He got a PhD. He was like 24. How old was he? Okay. He was in his 20s when he published. He and Crick published the theoretical paper on DNA. But he expected the world to hand it to him, and so he ran all over the place looking for people to... he had decided that the perfect world, that the perfect life, and notice at 16, is supposed to create for them the ideal life. They're an ideal person. They need to create the ideal life, and they have to virtually swim upstream to it to do that, because the world isn't going to just hand it to you on a platter. Although it looks like it didn't hand it to him. He had to steal it. He decided that the perfect life would include him winning the Nobel Prize. And so before he even met Rosalind Franklin. He had composed an acceptance speech for the Nobel. So he was busy looking for the structure of DNA too. A lot of people were. But notice the Pluto over there. He was looking for a partner that would do the work for him. And so he hooked up with Francis Crick, who was a very bright man, and that didn't go very far. He made friends with Linus Pauling's son. Linus Pauling had been doing work on the DNA, and he conned Linus Pauling's son into giving him Pauling's data and his papers, his manuscripts. But that didn't go anywhere. That wasn't the right answer either. But up here, well, let's see, is there other things? Yeah, there's other things I should talk. Notice that this Mercury-Venus connection right there is at the degree of sorrow. It's a fixed it's a fixed star. I think it might be called Markab, but it speaks of loss. And you notice this is square to the Saturn. So because of his erratic work and erratic ability to focus his energies, he suffered a lot of setbacks, a lot of defeat. And he had so over here is Pluto. Pluto is power. Moon phase 16 is a test of the right use of power. Remember, they're incredibly powerful. The 16 has massive amounts, more than anybody needs, of mental energy. And notice that he's supposed to focus that energy on work that he loves, but he can't. He can't. So he needed somebody else to help him. And when he had an argument with Rosalind Franklin, he showed her the Pauling's papers, and she did what she always did when she thought people were idiots. She told him so, and so they had a kind of a pissing contest, which she won. And as he walked out, he bumped into Wilkins, and Wilkins would understand that Watson had been run over by the formidable Rosalind, and felt sorry for this person, even though Watson had previously taken data from Wilkins and claimed it as his own. Wilkins went ahead then and showed Watson the data, the pictures virtually of DNA. And Watson ran home to Crick and said, "We have got to get busy and make a Tinker Toy model and publish this quick so that we can win the Nobel. I've already got the speech." And so they did. Notice up here, here's the vertex. This is a timed, we know what time Watson was born. Here's his vertex up there at 22 Leo. That is conjunct Rosalind's Jupiter in Leo, in the first house. He's got this 14 degrees of Capricorn rising, and that is incredibly ambitious. He's got this Mars Neptune opposition. While this is really bright, this is an anaretic degree, and that means that this is karmically toxic. You got to use it right. You get something in the 29th degree, you need to use it right. It's, you know how to. It's the 29th degree, and it is important to your soul that you use it right. His, unfortunately, was opposing Neptune, which is brings deviousness, Yeah, this is not a trustworthy person. And Wilkins already knew that he was not a trustworthy person, but had to show him that, I don't know, to get back to Rosalind for being so, for refusing to work under his thumb, under his own his supervision. But anyway, this is an incredibly ambitious ascendant here at 14 degrees. What do you say about this guy? He's got Scorpio. Rosalind's Mars would be up here. He's got Scorpio in the midheaven. He was charming. I mean, look at that Venus Mercury. So he could sweet talk you out of stuff. Even though you knew he was a thief, he could still sweet talk Maurice Wilkins out of the data he wanted. That Pluto over there can be power hungry. It's because it's it's got a square here to the Sun, Jupiter, and so it's hungry for power, but it's just as soon as somebody else gave it to him. 10. Oh, at 10 degrees of Sagittarius is a fixed star called Antares, and it is it's intolerance. It's warlike. It's intolerant, and in Watson's the book he wrote about his wondrous discovery of the structure of DNA, he displayed his intolerance of the woman who actually discovered the DNA by calling her Rosie and saying how much if only she'd fix her hair and dress nicer, maybe a little lipstick. Everybody was intimidated for her, but that's by her. But that's the power that it's more than a stellium. It's 5 planets in Leo that she has. So he was a charmer, but he was a crook. I kind of think I refer to the Nobel Prize winners for the DNA as the Crick and Crook, but then that's my opinion. So he's still alive. He just had his birthday. He's born 6 April 1928 at 1:23 a.m. in Chicago, Illinois. You know what's interesting is that the people working at King's College to track down DNA were racing to beat the Americans, and he was an American. But anyway, they did beat the Americans. So that's James Crick, Lucky Jim. No, that's James Watson. Sorry, Lucky Jim Watson. I think that's about all I have to say. I get pissed off at men who take women's work and claim it as their own, like Einstein did. The thing is that let's look at this a minute. The thing with this quarter is this is the air quarter, and these people are brilliant. But notice that it's led by Libra, and so what happens if scientists, for instance, in this quarter, they need a muse. Virtually, what they do is they argue and talk and think and argue and talk and trade ideas and intuitions, and they virtually crime each other into understanding. And so that's what he needed to do. He needed a partner. The thing was that Watson was virtually incapable of doing any of the work himself, so he virtually needed a partner to do all the work. But Einstein was a 21, and he had a partner. He was the mathematician and she was the physicist. I think that's the way it went. Her name was Meleva Malik. And he married her. They had a couple of kids. And then he abandoned her, gave her the Nobel for the work, and abandoned her and came to America to be a superhero. And he gave Melva the proceeds from the Nobel, which she bought a boarding house and slowly went mad over there in, I don't remember where she was living, Hungary? Anyway, but it's two people here. It's a relationship that creates understanding here. It's relationship that grows your mind. Arguing with people, studying with other people. That's what is that's what's the talent of this quarter, the air quarter. So there was James Watson, and see if I want to see anything more that I want to talk to you about. So let's go back to Rosalind Franklin. She's got a fixed star right here. This Venus is on a fixed star called South Acellus. Now, the problem with South Acellus is that it guarantees disappointment. Well, it depends on how you use it. But she's got a square to Mars. It's going to help that South Acellus guarantee disappointment. What's interesting to me is that the sun is parallel to that fixed star, South Acellus. They are in the same declination. And so it's kind of a double whammy there for her. Not only if you put this Saturn on the IC, you've got that Uranus up there and showing that she lost her status. She lost what she was going for. She lost her triumph. So that's Rosalind Franklin. Remember her name. She was a woman of science, and she sacrificed her life to do this work, and we should appreciate that from her. Anyway, I hope you are all well, wearing your masks, and being kind to each other, and telling the ones you love them, and get vaccinated as soon as you can. Take care. God bless. Bye-bye.